Alright everyone, it's time for a little bit of humor here, because last night the New York Times opinion page on Twitter made a tweet and was like, oh, despite its flaws, its shortcomings, communism, the communist revolution was really good for women's rights in China. And people had a field day because they're like, oh yeah, tuberculosis has its faults, but ultimately it's really good for cleaning out your lungs or something. Now, communism is great. It has a great diet plan. It really helped people to lose weight. See, this is the problem. The New York Times, I don't even think they realize how dumb this sounds to people. Communism killed tens of millions, possibly over 100 million people, both directly and indirectly. Now, if you were to say this about, if you were to say something along the lines of, oh, well, yeah, despite its obvious shortcomings and flaws, Nazi economics worked for a while. They created really nice roads. Do you think that would go over well with people? No, it probably wouldn't. People would say, what the fuck are you talking about? Millions of deaths and bigotry and stuff. Why not with communism? Mao was not a women's rights activist. Mao just saw people as interchangeable slaves and saw the idea of women being equal to men as a really good means to perpetuate his culture war. That's all he cared about. Mao Zedong was a virulent bigot. He also, I think it was Kissinger, or somebody he was meeting with in I think the 70s. And this is on the wiki page, so don't take my word for it. Just go fucking look it up yourself. Mao was joking about how women were, oh, haha, yeah, equality, all that sort of stuff. Ha, that's really funny. And then they agreed, oh, we'll strike that out from the meeting and not give that out to the public. That's what he really believed. No, he didn't care about equality for any moral reason. He cared about that concept because, well, women can work out in the fields too. I can enslave them also. See, communism wants people to be equal. They want equality of outcome, not of possibility. In a system where you have freedom, you have equality of possibility. People aren't being systemically fucked over because of their race, their gender, whatever. That's true equality in the Western liberalized sense. That is, a person isn't deliberately, specifically held back for their status. They're given the opportunity to prove themselves the same as anybody else. In communism, you have equality of outcome. Usually everyone's equally miserable. Look at Pol Pot. Pol Pot's diet plan was even better than Mao's. Mao was small fry compared to starving people when compared to Pol Pot. Yeah, the whole killing the sparrows thing didn't go over so well. And yeah, it caused mass famine because there were outbreaks of locusts. That must have been surreal, with everyone in China clanging pots together in order to exhaust the sparrows and kill them all, leading to some of their problems there for a while. Mao was a miserable failure. All communist leaders have been miserable failures. Pol Pot was a miserable failure. He never achieved what he was working for. The Vietnamese communist movement ended up having to adopt essentially a mixed model in order to accomplish anything. Look at Russia. Look at Stalinism. Grind down, kill 20 million people. Wonderful, now we've got less manpower to fight off those evil, dirty, capitalist, filthy barbarians over there. Whoa, what a great idea. Let's starve half of Ukraine and displace them with a bunch of ethnic Russians. Oh, it's going to be a great time. That's the true fruits of communism. And this stuff about, oh, well, it wasn't that bad because there were a few things about it that were good. Okay, you can say that about anything. Literally anything. Benedict Arnold wasn't that bad. He was just, he fought for what he believed in. Yeah, the road to hell is paved with good intentions. In the case of Mao Zedong, it wasn't good intentions, though. It was shitty intentions. He knew what he was doing. He didn't care if tens of millions of people starved to death. It's just a matter, when we talk about communist genocide, most often the reason why we have a variable number is we're not sure how many people were deliberately executed and how many people were starved because of central planning policies. We've got an unfortunate situation where we've been inching our way closer and closer to that kind of central planning here in the United States, to the point at which China now, they're almost more capitalistic than we are. The New York Times is full of crap. But they would love communism because they're convinced, like everyone else, people who LARP about being part of some communist revolution, they always think that they're going to become at least a field commander or a bureaucrat, or so they're going to be like an inner party member. That is, they're not one of the people that's going to get their skull bashed in because I'm so pure in my communism. That's what everyone keeps thinking, apparently. So the New York Times, I guess, is hoping they'll have a communist revolution somewhere down the line. People will see this tweet, and they'll remember them fondly and make them like the official state media agency or something. Okay, you can make the fake news. You're pretty good at it. You've been doing it for a long time anyway. So we'll make you the main text propaganda outlet. We'll call, instead of the New York Times, it'll be the New Marx Times or something. It basically is now, but, you know, in a more official sense. Now, malaria isn't that bad. You're providing a home for little life forms that would otherwise be endangered. AIDS isn't that bad. You lost a bunch of weight. You look so good. Anemia isn't that bad. Oh, yeah, you got some nice pale skin. Yeah, you don't even need to use foundation. Oh, how you're glowing. You're so lovely. I can see your veins. That's a little weird. Yeah, dying isn't too bad. You know, at least you can sleep now. You can say that about anything. Anything that's perceived of, or more objectively, on any human measure, negative, you can see it as a positive. You can see positive aspects. Even the most psychotic, insane, deranged individual, I'm sure, maybe they collect ceramic clowns or something. They've got some sort of interest, some facet to their life or their personality that means, technically speaking, there's a redeeming thing to them. Emperor Palpatine's not that bad. He likes theater. I think the dude who plays Palpatine actually had to dig that one out of his ass. That's really funny. Oh, yeah, I was trying to find a redeeming quality. He likes watching plays and like classical music. Okay, that's good. He's a connoisseur of the arts. Oh, yeah, okay, I'll accept it. Mao, meanwhile, was just an asshat. He was just as much an asshat as Karl Marx or any of these other freakazoids that killed so many people. And then they are responsible. Marx lays the groundwork and everyone else takes the basic philosophy, reconfigures it to use for their tyrannical methodologies. And the communists of today, who are few and far between, thankfully, still say, oh, it wasn't real communism. Oh, it was never implemented properly. Real communism's never been tried. Okay, well, it's such a failure it can't even be implemented. The New York Times should be, you should tell the New York Times that. They think it was a real communist revolution, really helped women's rights. It helped them have the right to be equal to men, equally fucking miserable, because they were all peasants, they were all starving slaves. You know, if they got into the military, they got the extra half a bowl of beans and a dead rat for lunch. Wow, they were not malnourished. Wonderful, because you have to pay your military more than the general population to convince them it's okay to kill everybody. That's what communism is about. Communism is about relegating everyone to slavery, purging anyone who disagrees with you. The communists who say, no, we're ideological now. We wouldn't do that. We wouldn't try to purge people if we had power. Bullshit. Of course you would. Of course you would. You'd have to. Otherwise, communism would never be implemented even in a roundabout way. You wouldn't even get your corroded communism. Nobody would accept it, so you have to resort to violence. That's what it's all about. Communism's never managed to rise to power in a peaceable fashion. The only one exception I can think of is like the Amish. They're technically kind of communalists. They have kind of private property, but it's also collective, like at the community level. But they're religious zealots. So you don't even believe in that. You don't want anyone to have any god other than the state. And then you want to dissolve the state somehow. I'm not sure, because the state has to strangulate itself to accomplish this. Alright, I suppose maybe it makes sense in La La Land. It doesn't make sense in real people's world. The New York Times, ooh, communism had some redeeming qualities. Yeah, okay. Yeah, it was good at making collective farms. What a wonderful accomplishment. Women's rights, ooh. Like it required communism to recognize that women should be treated equally under the law. We seem to accomplish that without communism. Yeah, I don't think it required us to become communalists. I think it was possible to do that without it. I think the core philosophy of communism is totally wrong. Wasn't it Frank Zappa who said communism can't work because people like to own stuff? Yeah, they do. They like to have some things to themselves. You can have an interventionist system. It doesn't work very well, but we have one, unfortunately. You can have socialism to an extent. It can even be involuntary, but when you centralize everything, technically speaking, everything begins to break down over time. And just make sure that every individual becomes corrupt because they're all looking out for their own ass. Because central planning can never actually accomplish what it needs to do, which is to balance the wants and needs of the entire population over disparate areas. You could have maybe a communist microstate. if you tried. Like, if you had, like, some little Caribbean island, maybe you could make something like that communal, and it could be stable, but it could never run a larger land area. Not an area in which there are different groups of people who fundamentally are exploiting different things and have different needs as a result of it. Differential levels of training and education, differential types of life that they live. Like, one person breaks their back in the factory, another person administers some central planning system. Which one, physically speaking, has it easier? Communism's not capable of addressing these things. Not without inequality, which is anathema to the very system. The fact is, there will always be inequality in the world. Get the fuck over it. It's sad to say. What we should be doing is making sure that it's not such a stumbling block, not such a misery maker that people feel so totally left out that they're disenfranchised by their own country, by their own people and culture. That's what we should be doing. We already have the means to accomplish that, and it doesn't require communalism. It doesn't require the abolition of private property. It doesn't require everyone to be equally fucking miserable. That's what communism wants. But yeah, there's an increasing embrace of communism by some of these corporatized groups. They like the idea because it would still be corporate communism. It'd still be the ones abusing people. They'd just be more free to do it. They'd have the whole backing of a massive government apparatus at their backs to make sure that they can keep lying to and abusing people. The New York Times would probably like communism because then they could sow their propaganda. Then it'd be mandatory to read the New York Times. Oh, they'd love it. Their circulation would definitely improve. As of right now, it's decreasing over time. They can make up whatever fucking lies they want about, oh, we sold more more papers today than we did yesterday. No, you didn't. Nah, I'm calling bullshit on that. That's what I say. That's about all. Peace out.